What's up, good people? Welcome to another episode or segment or masterclass or whatever you want to call this thing called Better with Paul. I'm excited. Guys, can I say I'm always excited? What I'm most excited about is that you all are ready before I'm ready. I see you. Look at this. I see Periscope is on fire. I see Periscope. I used to joke Periscope. I was like, do folks still use Periscope? Yes, folks are still on Periscope. I see everybody on Facebook. I see you on Facebook, which I love. And by the way, I see you on YouTube. But if you've never seen this before, you'll know that I get comments from all of the platforms because we're streaming to Facebook, to Periscope, to YouTube, and to LinkedIn. But I have to look down to see LinkedIn. So I'm going right now. I'm going to say what's up to everybody on LinkedIn because LinkedIn. I'm not going to say LinkedIn has an attitude, but LinkedIn wants their proper due. So let me go to say, what's up, Kemi? What's up, Deb? What's up, Chizzy? What's up, Noreen? I see we're at nearly 100 folks already there on LinkedIn, right? So a couple things before we begin. All right, a couple things before we begin. First is I want to shout out to Deb, who we all know if you are a loyal Better with Paul tribe member, you know exactly who Deb is. Deb, already in the comments, she started using something that I find to be interesting, and it is hashtag tribe PCB. Actually, I should have put it right here, right? So Deb has been using this all throughout. Here it is, tribe PCB. She's been using this all throughout LinkedIn. Now, I've noticed Ron. What's up, Ron? What's up, Ron? I see you. I've noticed that a lot of folks on LinkedIn have started using this. So let's experiment with something. Whenever you comment, right, on LinkedIn, not for today, but if you're commenting, if you're making a post, if you include this hashtag tribe PCB, what we'll do as a tribe is we'll look for that content, because you could just go to search, you could just hit tribes PCB. We'll look for that content, and I'll try my best in particular. I know Deb and everyone else will try our best to always comment and like your posts. So that way you'll get more engagement on your posts. And on top of that, you'll get a chance to really know who's in the tribe, see what content they're posting. We could try it on Facebook as well, right? But Deb said, this is our secret handshake right here. This is how you know who's down and who's not, right? So hashtag tribe PCB. That's one thing that I wanted to make a mention. Deb, thank you very much. There you go. I see you, LinkedIn. My man, Andrew Roby, by the way, thank you. I see you were just doing a live and he just switched on and now he's on LinkedIn, which is good. Now, before we begin, I want to share a story that was very inspirational to me. And I know it's going to be inspirational to you. So now, every time I get on here, I'm talking about how important it is for us to do things we wouldn't normally do at this time. Right. And yesterday I saw this and I thought this was incredible. Right. So this was, let me see if I can share my screen. Let me see if it's out here. Where is this thing? This is, let's see. Let me pull this up. So this is my friend James. Okay. This is my friend James. Now, this is James Oliver, by the way. So James Oliver posted this yesterday, and if you follow me on here it goes. If you follow me on Instagram, you've seen this, right? This is what he posted yesterday. He was like, that moment when you send Mark Cuban a cold email asking him for an interview on your blog, an update, he said yes. This to me is what it's all about. I reposted this and I said, this is the time for everybody to shoot your shot. This is the time. If not now, when? Right? If not now, when? I so loved what James did here that I sent James a message literally 10 minutes before coming on here. Literally 10 minutes. By the way, look, James is here. Look, James is here. Hold on for a second. James is in the building. I didn't even know James would be in the building. All right, so James knows this, right? So literally, I just got off the phone with James, right? Literally, I shot him a message. I was like, Jay, that was a dope story. Break down for me what was going on in your mind, because we all need to do this, right? And basically what James, for me to paraphrase, right, what he said was, he was like, look, every day he's been waking up and he's been asking the Lord, right? For all of you that, know about the Lord, I know about the Lord, right? But he's been asking the Lord to really just give him 1, 2, 3 things. Just that's it. 1, 2, 3 things that he could do every day to move his business forward, to move his brand forward, to move his family forward. Just 1, 2, or 3 things. And by the way, I follow this philosophy. I wake up and I have identified just 3 things that I'm going to make sure get done during the day, right? But these are 3 big things. So anyway, he came up with this, right? Or he's talking to the Lord, he's asking the Lord, and this comes upon his mind, this notion of, let me just reach out to Mark Cuban. And the reason why is because, he interviews parents, right? He's a massive brand within the parenting community. And so he interviews lots of people, and he thought it would be massive, right, if I can interview Mark Cuban. But of course, it's going to be almost close to impossible to interview him, but let me shoot my shot. So what did he do? So I asked him, I said, so you got the idea. How did you get his email address? James said, I just Googled it. He just Googled Mark Cuban's email address. And by the way, he said he's Googled Oprah's email address. He's Googled plenty of email addresses. So right out the gate, he at least attempted, right? He got the idea, and then he took a step forward. So for everybody out there, when you have that idea, big, hairy, audacious goal, you have to take a step forward. He just Googled it. And then on top of it, James hit me with this, which I love, by the way. Let me show you this. He said, if you can't find it on Google, he put me on to this, which I thought was fascinating. Check this out. All right, you see this? Contact out. Masterful. You could they scrape email addresses. You could basically get anybody's email and phone number from LinkedIn. Contact out. Massive hack, right? Massive hack. That was James that did that for us. Massive hack. If you need anybody, right? Steve Wozniak, right? You need anybody's email. So anyway, then the question becomes, okay, all right, you get the email address. Now what do you do, right? How do you put together a masterful email that somebody like Mark Cuban would respond to? So I asked James that, being the astute journalist that I am, I was like, James, give me the 1, 2, 3 strategy. Here's what James said. 3 strategies, or should I say 1 strategy, 3 methods on how to write an effective cold email. Here it goes. And I love this. Number 1 is your subject line needs to be compelling, and you need to hit them with a different angle, right? Compelling, but hit him with a different angle. So what did James do? James wrote to Mark Cuban. He said, Mark, you're an inspiration to parentpreneurs. Mark, you're an inspiration to parentpreneurs. By the way, he suggests to put the first name of the person in the subject line. He said, you're an inspiration. So he's talking him up. He's stroking that ego. And then he says to parentpreneurs. Well, Mark is a parent, but parentpreneur is not really a term that's used frequently, right? So he has some intrigue. So then he opens, right? Number 2 is James says, keep it short and to the point. And Lord knows I love a short and to the point. I love a short and to the point. Something that a mentor taught me about a year ago about emails, and this is something that I just advise to everybody. I do this myself, is anytime you write an email, write it and then challenge yourself to reduce it by 50%. Think about that. Every time you write an email, write all your thoughts, and then challenge yourself to reduce it by half. Eliminate half of it, because over half of it is going to be fluff. You need it to be succinct, right? That's what he did, right? He made it short and to the point. And then third is you have to make it relevant to any initiatives that the subject is participating in. You got to make it relevant to what's in his life and what's going on. These were the 3, right? Compelling subject line, include first name, Secondly is short and to the point, right? I say reduce it by 50%, whatever your email is. And then third, you have to make it relevant to whatever something that the person is the subject is considering. And then look what happens. James Oliver gets an email back within 1 day, from none other than Mark Cuban, right? That's what it's all about. Right there. James, man, James is doing it. So I wanted to share that story with everybody because this is your moment. Shoot your shot now. If not now, when? This is your moment. So everybody, if you appreciate that from James, I want to make sure that we support James. So James is here right now. But here's what I want you to do. Let me put this in right now. Let me just put this in, right? This is James on IG. This is James on IG right here. Show James some love. Everybody go follow James right now. You'll get way more insight than what you just got from me, So that's him at TrepDad on IG. All right. At TrepDad on IG. So let's get down to business. Guys. All right. So now today, what we're talking about is by the way, every time we hit over 1,000 people live, I like to shout that out. So we're at over 1,000 on all platforms. Big shout out to that. All right. So today we're talking about something that perfectly segues with what James just did, right? James, he created a piece of content, but it wasn't just any piece of content. It was persuasive. Right? When I put this in the caption for today's session is that literally when I pivoted almost 12 years ago in entrepreneurship, I was talking to one of my mentors. My mentor was like, look, your ability to persuade or to sell or to be influential is perhaps more important than anything else in business, right? This is what he told me. And he is a masterful salesman. Shout out to Enver Ugel, he's built a multi-billion-dollar business. And so what I wanted to do today is I wanted to bring on 4 people who I consider to be top 1% in the world as it relates to sales, right? Now, I will say this. I am, I don't know how I'm a bougie salesperson. Is it bougie? Yeah, be a bougie salesperson. And what I mean by that is I'm very particular in how people sell, right? I'm very particular in how people persuade. But I will tell you this, these 4, I didn't reach out to anyone else. These were the first 4 people that came to my mind. I sent them a message, and perhaps I was persuasive because they all sent me a message back saying that they would be on. This is going to be a masterclass in sales. I already know it. So sit back, relax, get ready. And the first thing that I want to say before we go is remember this, guys. Remember this. Share the love. Share the love right now. This is about to be epic. So what are we talking about? We are talking about how you can become more persuasive, right? How you can become more influential and overall a better salesperson, whether that be live on a video, whether that be through your content, whether that even be outside of the business context. Maybe it's just, hey, I mean, we've got a celebrity matchmaker here. Maybe it's just, how are you more persuasive in your personal and social life? This is a masterclass on how to improve your sales. So if you're ready, let me know. Just let me know in the comments if you're ready. My sis Pat is already, she's already saying she's sitting up, right? I see you. I see you, Pat. If you're ready, my man Andrew says he's got his pen. All right. We've got book notes. We have pens. We have Periscope is ready. Let me see if LinkedIn. Let me see how ready you are. All right. I see Irene is ready. All right. Teresa Royal Brown, of course. I see you ready. All right. Let's bring on the first guest. All right. I see you guys are ready. I see you. All right. Let's bring on. All right. There's so many I'm ready comments. All right. Let's bring on the first guest. So I got notes again, guys. I got notes again. All right. So now, number one coming to the stage is someone, once again, I believe is top 1% in the world. I want to say we met at a Black Enterprise conference, right? I want to say that's where we met. And I will say what I remember most about him, and this is Jonathan Sprinkles, what I remember most about him in terms of our interaction was actually not the initial meeting or not hanging out because we hung out, but what happened afterwards. Shortly after we had, we hung out, we met, he sent a book to me. And I think it was Give and Take by Adam Grant, right? I'm sure he's going to correct me on this if I'm wrong, but I think that was the book. He was the first person that I'd ever met who sent me a book afterwards. And it suggested several things. I mean, you guys know I love to read, right? I love Persuasion, which Give and Take, I think is a book on persuasion to a certain extent. So not only did he nail like the right gift to me, but it was an extension. It was a way for him to continue to build our relationship. And ultimately, what I realized about Jonathan is he's a master at building relationships. So I want a strong round of applause, right? You know how we do it. I want to see the clap. This is my man. JS. What's going on, JS?
Hey, man, I'm so glad to be here. You give such good introductions. I didn't even want to talk. I was like, just keep talking. Whatever you're saying is good.
Did I get that right, though? Did I get that right? Was it Black Enterprise?
So, yes and no.
Okay.
See, this is the part I never told you. All right, world premiere, new information right here.
Uh-oh.
So here's how I got to know Paul. It wasn't back in the day. What do you say? 2018, 20. It was 2013. So Paul and I spoke at a really large event called MegaFest. Now, the reason why I say he wouldn't know was because I knew him, but he didn't know me. I literally, when I was trying to figure this whole social media thing out, I literally just Googled top 10 social media influencers, and Paul's name was on the list. I said, okay, he was one of few Black people. It's a younger Black guy. I said, okay, cool. Let me find out about this guy. Turns out a few months later, I was speaking at MegaFest in Dallas, Texas. And when they created the flyer, my picture was right next to his. I'm like, somebody said earlier, look at God. So when I met Paul the second time, I had already known a little bit about him because I had been following him. So see, people know more about you. This is kind of the teaching point here. People know more about you than you might realize. And what I teach in my meetings, I have something called quarantine class that I'm doing every Tuesday and Thursday. I teach a concept called mining. Okay. We're already talking about connecting and digging for sales. So when you dig, it's like, you just look something up. I always do this, like the dog dig but when you dig, right, you're just kind of digging. But when you're mining, you're looking for specific information. So I was mining the whole time. This is what connectologists do. You start mining. You want to know some things about their family. You want to know about, really, there's like four main categories you want to look for. What are their pleasures? Like, what do they really love? What are their passions? Number two, what are their pain points? What are the things that really get on their nerves? Because everybody vents sometimes when they're on social media. Everybody talks about things they don't like, whether it's a celebrity on television, or if it's long lines, traffic, if it's books that don't get to the point until you read the first 100 pages, whatever. Everybody's talked about that. What are their pain points? Number three, what are their projects? That'll be really important. So for example, I know where you want to go in the future. And then number four, who are your people? Like, who are the ones you care about? So at the time, Paul, I don't know whether both sons were born in 2013. I don't believe so. Not then, right? They're not that old.
Yeah,
one was born, okay? But then I watched. So he has another son, and he's talking about him all the time. I'm watching the kids out there playing tennis. I'm watching them learn how to read. I'm watching them just grow up right before my eyes. And obviously, being a good dad is important to him. Being a proud Jamaican is important to him. Being a great husband is important to him. Red Stripe beer is important to him. You see, Paul, I got the file, baby.
Yeah, you got it. All right, hold on. This is brilliant. All right, I got the last of the projects, the pain point. What were the first two again?
So find out about their passions.
Passion. Okay.
What are their pain points? What are their projects? And then their people.
And their people. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what connectologists do, because at that point, what you do now is you understand what's most important to that person. So, Paul, if I send you an email that would help you, so if you're talking about this cold email, which I think is brilliant, by the way, shout out to my man who James Oliver, is that right?
Yeah.
Shout out. That was brilliant. I love that. He's a connectologist too. So, Paul, if I talk to you about Red Stripe beer, do you have time for that?
Oh, forget this show. Let's just talk about Red Stripe.
Yeah, right? You want to talk about Jamaica? Do you have time for that?
You know what? Forget everything else. Let's talk about Jamaica right now.
Exactly. If I talk about how to be a great dad or really connect with your kids even more, do you have time for that?
Yeah, James Oliver and I were talking about that right before we jumped on. I mean, this is brilliant. This is brilliant. Yeah, I love it.
That's the difference between connecting and selling. See, when you sell, it's about your agenda. But when you connect, you just serve and you give them more of what they want. I'll give this to you really quickly, and then I'll let you ask me whatever you want. Here's the most important thing about connection. Connection is oneness. You want to build oneness with your people. 3 things that you want to focus on, because everybody says, yeah, that sounds good, but how do you do it? Let me guide you down the list.
Okay.
Number 1, show them that you like what they like. You just simply create a relationship. You can't relate to someone, right, unless you show what's real. You like what they like. You know, hey, I like this as well. You find the points of intersection between you and them. Now, this is important. Don't be so anxious to try to connect with people that you become fake. Like, oh, you're wearing a black shirt. I'm wearing a black shirt. Or don't say that you like something that you really don't like. Don't do that. You don't have to do that. There's enough things about that person that you can find that you like about them. Okay. So number 1, you like what they like. Number 2, you want what they want. And this comes from a value standpoint. So what are some of the things that are deep that you know about Paul? What does Paul stand for? Even if you have to guess a little bit, you may not get it 10 out of 10. But what are some of the things that you believe he stands for? These are the things he always has time for. So if you cold email him and ask him to be a part of your tribe, your whatever you're doing, this is the way to do it. Whether it's a sales prospect or whether it's someone who you want to connect with, like an influencer, whether it's someone who you are retweeting or just wanting to build a deeper relationship with, what do they want that you also want? How are you two aligned in your values? Now, that's a much deeper level than just the things that they like. That's easy. I like a lot of things, but my list of values is much smaller, but it's also more important to me in the center of my core. So number 1, you like what they like. Number 2, you want what they want. And then number 3, you'll help them get more of it. That's the key. How can you help them to move their life forward? James said to Mark Cuban that, you're a big inspiration to parentpreneurs. And I know that that's important to you. You want what I want. And then I'm going to show you how to reach more of them, to inspire more people to do more of what you do in your mission. Man. You do that, you will be able to connect with people. Then you don't have to sell them on anything, because now the trust is high, the objections are low, and you're a friend.
Brilliant. I mean, that right there. Okay, session is over, guys. No, like that was brilliant, Jay. That was brilliant. I mean, even with the examples there. And what's interesting is a lot of that sounds a lot like even personal relationships, social relationships, the shared values, right? But I tell you what, you're coming back. Jonathan's coming back, guys. Don't worry, because I know as soon as I pull you off the screen, everyone's just say, no. Coming back, Jay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you at the panel. Guys, this is good. By the way, we are going to run over today. I'm going to say right now, we're going to run over. By the way, I had a musical guest lined up today, but I removed the musical guest because I knew we had some orators in the house, right? So, but that being said, this is brilliant. This is brilliant. Let me bring on guest number 2. Guest number 2 is, I would say, if I were to say there were 3 people that were the catalyst, were the reasons why I became a matchmaker, guest number 2 is one of them, right? And I think it's important for us to give folks their flowers now. And I want to say that our next guest, Carmelia Ray, is hands down one of the people that really ushered me in to the matchmaking space. And if it wasn't for her, I perhaps never would have become a matchmaker. And matchmaking truly has changed my life. And so I will be forever indebted to her. Now, on top of her being this phenomenal celebrity matchmaker, when I think about the top 1% of sales, Carmelia Ray is that person, to the point where when my wife and I were running our matchmaking agency and we needed to bring someone in to help us with sales, Carmelia was the first person I went to. Secondly, if you remember about 2 sessions ago when I was talking about 50 ways to create new streams of income, and I talked about one of my friends who was talking about how she jumped on a project and she helped to increase their sales, this is her. This is Carmelia Ray. She is masterful at sales. And so it's an honor to have her all the way from Toronto. Here's my sis. What's up, Carmelia?
I'm going to mirror Jonathan and just say, keep going. I mean, I would never be able to describe myself, nor would I, in the way that you do. So thank you for that incredible honor and blessing. And I hope to repay that through this education and lesson right now. I'm so excited to be talking about my favorite thing other than putting people together. It's persuasion, it's sales, it's influence. I geek out on this and you know it.
Yeah, you know what?
Totally geek out on it.
Yeah, I find it to be fascinating. Like, this is why you're so good at it, is because you're passionate. Like, I think some people despise sales, right?
Oh my God.
Light up. It's like, let's talk about sales, right?
You have a product not that you don't like. If you have a product you have a hard time selling, I get on the phone. I grew up in cold call. I started in matchmaking in 1992, and my job was to be on the phone. So I spent 40 to 60 hours a week, every minute of the time that I was on a desk, hand dialing on a phone before dial-ups were there. Well, during dial-up, actually. This is pre-Facebook and pre-social media. So telesales is hard. You ever work in a cold call room? It is hard.
I tell you,
anyway, that's my background.
My father made me do a telesales job when I was in high school, and it was one of the best training grounds ever, right? But that being said, here's really what I want to ask you, just to kick things off before we get into the panel, is that I know that you do a lot of high ticket sales.
Yes.
And there are a lot of people that are watching who have products. When I say high ticket, I'm really saying, $1,000 or maybe £1,000, right? 900 and something pounds, but $1,000 and up, right? But you've sold much bigger, 10,000, 20,000, etc. What do you consider to be some of the bigger distinguishing points between high ticket sales and low ticket sales?
Okay, before we start, I want to talk about what is selling. And I'm borrowing this phrase because I'm going to do the credit where credit is due. Dan Sullivan's the founder of Strategic Coach. And he defines selling as getting someone intellectually engaged in a future result that's good for them and getting them to emotionally commit to take action to achieve that result. So let's just get clear on what selling is. Now, a lot of times people are afraid of selling because they think that they're forcing people into something. But the number one skill or thing you should know about selling a high ticket product or a high value product is you have to be 100% committed and stand for that product. So it doesn't feel like selling at any time. Okay, so you have to be sold on the product first in order to offer that to someone else. The second point that that I consider why I love sales is I attract, depending on what your industry is in, I'm in the industry of love and relationships. And I've been doing this for quite a long time. Actually, it's 28 years that I've been selling now or offering matchmaking. And if you have a high product or high service or high value service, you yourself have to be able to attract your target client. So you have to consider, who is that person looking for? What does your brand need to embody to attract the kind of people that you want to serve? So you've got to be able to attract those types of individuals. The other thing that I want to talk about when it comes to high ticket closing or high value is that you've got to be in a position to guide them into making a decision. It is not like you're selling features and benefits. People already, if they came to you, they're already interested and curious in what you have to offer. So if you can do it in a way that literally reveals a blind spot, we all have these blind spots, and we want to be sold to. I wouldn't be on the phone with you, or they wouldn't be in your office, or they wouldn't have picked up the phone if they didn't have a pain point or a challenge or problem that they couldn't fix on their own, or they somehow want to accelerate that process. You've got to be able to guide them through education, good information, and clear understanding of what they want, and not sell them something they don't need. That's why for me, selling is easy, because I know they want that, and I know the result that they want, and just got to show them how to get that result.
Yeah, absolutely. I see a lot of amens. Shout out to Chris Cooper, who was a guest panelist a little while back. He said, absolutely, you must 1000% believe in your product. You can't sell what you don't believe in. Absolutely. I completely agree. By the way, guys, notice how even Carmelia, right? She's in the love space. Notice she even has the red on. Like,
I'm all about the brand. Anytime I talk matchmaking, I'm always wearing red. It's intentional. It is on purpose that I wear red when I'm talking about matchmaking or being a matchmaker.
Wow. So now this is interesting. I'm going to get into this with the panel, but I want to talk about visuals, right? I want to talk about what we wear, how important that is. I've talked to a lot of people, a lot of women in particular, that say, you know what, when I get on and sell, I'm not putting on any makeup. I'm going to be me. And then I see another that says, no, we're going to get into all of that. But Carmelia, thank you. She's coming back.
I'll be back.
She's coming back. Everyone's like, I love the advice. Yeah, see, already. Let me just do a temperature check before we even get to the third and fourth. Fire or not on the panel, guys? Fire. One of my favorite things to do is just curate the panel and just let them do their thing. This is my favorite. So fire or not? I just want to see real quick. All right. There you go. I see LinkedIn burning up. I see it. All right. So now let's go on to our next guest. So now our next guest is someone who is right here in the glorious UK with me. We're both in London. Okay. This is someone who digitally I connected to. And this is someone who I will say digitally I admired at a distance. You know what I mean? I saw him kind of do his thing. I saw him post a lot. And there were two things that he did that really intrigued me. The first is that he was one of the first people to ever come out and say, that I've heard, right? Come out and say that content is not king. Ooh, fighting words for a lot of people, right? Content is not king. My man, Richard, says community is king. It's about how you engage with your community. And then I sat back to see, let me see if he actually walks the talk, right? A lot of people out here talking, you know it, but how many people are actually following it up? And I'm going to tell you what, Richard, he doesn't mess around. If you see his activity on LinkedIn in particular, this man, I think that Deb, right, in our community, Deb and Richard are tied for the most engaged people on LinkedIn that I've ever seen. But it goes to show you how important engagement and community building is, right? Richard also, it's interesting, and this shows you, when you have good people, I always say good people know good people. And it turns out that a dear friend of mine, she messaged me about 2 hours ago and she said, oh my gosh, you have Richard Moore on? Do you know Richard Moore was one of my first mentors? Like, this guy, I can't believe you have Richard Moore. Guys, I've got Richard Moore. Do you want to meet Richard Moore? Here he is, right here. Here he goes, my man.
Hello, mate. How are you? Wow. You're really kind, my man. I've not had an intro quite as impressive as that for a while. First off, tried PCB, genius. And secondly, shout out to James Oliver. I was like, that guy. I mean, that is spot on. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, I tell you, yeah, I thought that was incredible, right? I thought it was incredible. But Richard, man, thank you, right? I in particular, I wanted everybody on, but I'll tell you, here's why I wanted you on so much, is because you're here in the UK.
Yeah.
And I think we have to really understand, and I did not understand this until I moved here 3 years ago, is that sales in the UK is drastically different than sales in the United States of America. And a lot of people watching this either also live in the UK or around the UK, or do business in the UK or want to do business in the UK.
Yeah.
And so I would love for you to break down, what have you noticed to be the difference in terms of the perception of sales? Because you're training people here, corporate sales, right? What have you noticed to be the difference? And then could you tell us, what are some of the most effective techniques you've used with Brits with regard to helping to improve their sales?
Yeah, it's such an interesting thing, because the cultural stereotypes often do stand true. And to kind of give you a bit of context, so if you go back 17 years, my first job was, by the way, your guests are sick. I have to connect with these people way more afterwards. But I love what they were talking about. First job when I kicked off was cold calling. So I was in an office selling anywhere around the world. 2002, I was selling online digital networking and digital marketing products. And what's fascinating to learn was that there genuinely is different styles and beliefs and ways in which people receive you around the world. And I was naturally very introverted, quite shy, and I knew that the way to crack this was to really get an empathy for the type of people we had, and specifically how, with empathy, a cold prospect receives you. Now, to answer you directly here, and it's interesting because probably 70% of my audience is US based. In fact, there's a clear difference here. And one of you, I've been watching your live comments. One of your comments in Facebook, I think someone said sales is a clean word. I totally agree with that. But here in the UK, it's looked down upon, I think, considerably by comparison to in the US. And I think in the US, there is much more of a vibe of respect. And it's almost for many seen as a bit of a noble art, and it's less so here in the UK. It's got a kind of a negative connotation. So why are we seeing that? If we're being brutal here, I think there's some cynicism with the Brit mindset. I'm not throwing us under the bus. We're good guys, but I think there's some cynicism there. I think for some, when you hit up, especially corporate sales, when you're going to the really senior people, so I coach people in the, multiple six-figure size deals at times, and they're reaching up to these very senior people who view it as like, if you're not coming across as formal and in a certain way with a kind of a measured approach, you're not going to be received in the right way. So the cynicism. And when we approach someone as a human, I want to get into this, the nitty gritty and how to fix this. We naturally want someone to be nice to us. And so we are inclined, because it's intuitive, to try our best to be pleasant with someone so that they'll be pleasant back. But in essence, Americans, by and large, are just a little nicer, I've found. And I'm fairly qualified to say that because I've made so many sales calls over so many years and done business with US and with Brits. I love working with the Brits, but you've got to be a little bit more direct and formula based. But here's the real secret sauce, because what you're really asking me here is, what's the thing that helps a bit more with Brits? And I believe that if you get this right for Brits, you are in a wonderful place for helping with those that are more accommodating. So, for instance, those lovely, lovely open people in the US. And, you get some cynical people everywhere, but in the main, this is a stereotype. The thing that stands out, without question, and when I got this right, it was probably 07, 08. I really started realizing that people valued those And what it is when you're going to someone cold, when you're approaching someone in sales, sure, you need a good value proposition. And yes, it's good to do the research. And my goodness, Jonathan Sprinkles nailed it with getting that detail on Persuasion. But what really matters is someone you might know in your network. Okay, so if you have that leverage, that goes a long way. And one of the things we talked about already is our mutual friend Marielle, and she's an amazing person. And I think having someone that you're connected to means that you get accepted in a certain way. So a bit like the amazing Carmelia, I'm a massive nerd for sales, and like this is just, you can see over here, there's books on sales all over. But for me, I'm like student of the year, I would like to think, for like the science of psychology and behavior. And here's the thing, humans as an animal are who you need to understand first. Before you go to the job title, you have to understand the animal. So before you go to the cerebral, thinking, conscious part of the brain, the gatekeeper, to use sales parlance, is the instinctive animal part, the old brain that worries and fears and looks at things like scarcity and rejection. That old part of the animal brain is always looking out for, can I profit by this new engagement? Am I in trouble by this new engagement, or am I indifferent? Now, here's what's really happening. If I approach someone, and it's the same as the dating world, and Carmelia will know way more than me about this, but if I walk up to someone in a bar and say, hey, barriers are naturally up, because the instinctive animal part of the brain is saying, what's going on here is I don't know this person from my tribe. And that potentially could be a threat. You don't know if Richard Moore's this kind of psycho guy and he's going to cause me harm. And so until I know better, I have to have my guard up. And that's because if I'm in trouble and I maybe am ostracized from my group, or I can't defend myself, I may be in a place of harm. It hasn't caught up to the fact that most people are cool nowadays. So what we need to do is coach that person that you're cool, you're legit, which is why we need to have a decent way of approaching people. And a great way to hack this is to simply show them that you know someone by proxy. So if you and me are at a bar and we're going to meet, and you know what, let's even do a better example, because everyone's been through. You and me sit next to each other, Paul, at a wedding. You and me, let's say Marielle's getting married, okay? So
she would like that. She would like that.
But what's the first? So it's like any other setting, like, I don't know this dude. He could be nice, he could not be. But what happens? The first question you ask, so who do you know? How do you know Marielle? Oh, I know, I was mentioning, or I went to university with her. Oh, she's awesome at this. And suddenly we're connecting, because if she's cool with you and she's cool with me, then by proxy, we must be cool as well. She's gone through the pain of validating, if you're okay and if I'm okay, and that does the work for us. So the practical tip is always, where's your mutual connection? And what I did is I pivoted. I remember it very well when I did this. I started looking at every single company or person I was going to approach. Who I want to approach was based on who I already knew. So is there someone somehow connected in some way? Have they done a deal with them? Is there a press release? Have they got some link with someone? And I'd be like, yeah, just want to speak to this guy about the work I'm doing with this person. And you're through. No need for sales chat. No need to try and overdo it or give flowery language. Oh, you know this guy, you're in. And as we all know, it's who you know that opens up doors. And nailing that it works with evolutionary psychology. And this neuro-sales approach is really what makes a difference, because you're part of people's networks when they don't even realize it. That's what matters.
I tell you, I completely agree, to the point where, I'm interviewed a lot about relationships. And in every interview, I say the most powerful tool that you can use to meet somebody new is through someone is through that mutual connection. And also, Richard, I will say that if you're ever at a bar and someone walks up to you, right, they should have said #TribePCB.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the point. That's the thing. If they did, it's like, well, we'd actually laugh. We would smile, and I would suddenly be best friends with this dude. And you know what? That's how, for instance, that's how I built all of these charity events the last 18 months. So all of the events are done around the world are all for charity. And what's interesting is they're networking events. We know what networking events are like. It's awkward. It's like, hi, what do you do? But by doing it through LinkedIn, shout out LinkedIn, man. But by doing it through LinkedIn and connecting people that way, honestly, networking events, people are walking in and they're hugging. They're like, welcome to the family kind of thing. And it's just that warming up in the background that really makes a difference. It's a really good tool.
This is brilliant. This is brilliant. Right on. Rich, I'll tell you what, you're coming back. By the
I'll
way,
wait in the backstage. I'll backstage.
he's coming back. He's coming back. Everyone's like, no, don't, especially on LinkedIn. I'm going to tell you guys, I adore this panel. I just have to say it again. I adore this panel. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. To last but not least, I'm going to say two things about our next guest, okay? The first thing, and I'm going to take my time on this. I'm going to take my time, all right? The first thing that I have to say is typically for me, when I go on a panel, right? When I'm on a panel, especially live on a panel, my goal is to make sure that I'm memorable. And by the way, I'm going to do a whole session on how I believe we should show up to interviews and how I believe we should show up to panels, right? Our panel, you can see our panel, they do a phenomenal job, right? They're telling stories, they're memorable, right? This is very important that you're memorable. Otherwise, people don't want to invite you back. And this is something I learned continuing going on a lot of these morning shows in the US and here in the UK. You have to be memorable. Now, the competitive Paul always says, I want to be most memorable, right? I want to be most memorable when I'm on this panel. I'm just being honest. This is how I approach panels, okay? Now the secret is out. This is how I approach panels. So I went to this conference in Texas and I get placed on a panel with this woman, Dawniel, right? And I've never met Dawniel before, right? I see her and I'm like, okay, yeah, a former, VP at I think it was JP Morgan, great bank, right? So she gets on, she starts doing her thing, and I love her, right? It's all love, but the competitiveness says, oh yeah, but it's about to go down, right? I need to be more memorable, right? This is the king. I'm gonna tell you what. I believe I lost that day. And I don't lose often, but I believe I lost that day. And when I lost, I remember walking to the back of the room and I sat, because then we did breakout sessions, and I sat and I looked up and I said, I think this is one of the greatest orators I've ever seen. This is what I said. And I humbled myself to say, I need to be a student. I need to learn. So I quite honestly didn't listen to the content of what she was saying. I started looking at her mannerisms and I started looking at, the pitch and how she delivered, right? I was just amazed. I was so just enamored by her that later I did an event in Washington, D.C., and I invited her to come to this event. Now follow this. This is the second thing I learned from her. So we did this event, right? And we have, I don't know how many people are in the room. So she speaks. So she has not met anybody, right? She comes in, she speaks in front of this audience. And then she then leaves. She says, I'm going to be out in the hallway. She then goes to the hallway. And then our next speaker comes up and the entire audience left. The entire audience left because they wanted to get in line to talk to Dawniel. And when I think about the best sales, right, people, sales professionals that I've ever witnessed in person, I'm not just giving Dawniel top 1% in terms of the best I've seen in person. I'm giving her number one. Number one. I've never in my life witnessed someone who can cold talk, right? So someone who you see on stage and then immediately you want to buy, or you see them on a video and immediately they want to buy, or you see them one-on-one and you have a conversation and then immediately you want to buy. I've never, ever, and I've seen great folks, I've never seen anyone top one in the world. Here she is, right here, my sis.
That is so wrong. You're trying to get me to mess up my makeup to get me back. That's what you're trying to do. Trying to get me to mess up my makeup, Paul, but I'm not going to do it. No. You're not going to do it. You're not going to win today.
I'm not trying to do it. I'm just trying to, I'm in the zone of giving folks their flowers, now. And that is the honest to God truth. Everything I just said, honest to God truth. I think top one. Top one.
So I want to give your people some help, because to me it's not about sales, it's about changing the world.
Okay.
So guys, if we have people here that want to change the world, I want you to type in the chat today, me. Because that's what I'm powered by. I always say I'm God powered and purpose driven, right? And my purpose is to change the world, because I used to be that person. I used to be that person that wanted things and didn't know how to get them. And so everybody, I'm going to give you 3 strategies today, the 3 most effective strategies that I know of. And the panel has been amazing. I feel like I should be here taking notes and not, getting ready to present. But I'm going to have to go back and watch it. But the 3 most effective strategies and it starts with believing in yourself, believing in your gift, and being yourself, knowing what God gave you. What did God give you? And work with that. Everybody's got something different, and we always tend to want what the other person has. But you got to start with what you have to give to the world and make that your humble offering, whatever that is. So your 3 effective strategies. A lot of people think sales is a lot of talking. It's not. Sales is about listening. Are you listening to what the person is telling you? Are you listening to their pain points? Are you listening to what they're saying is bothering them, is hurting them, is challenging them? What obstacles are they having? So when you go in, listening, Brian Tracy says that power is on the side of the person that takes notes. When I'm in a position to offer someone a resolution, because I don't call it sales, I call it problem solving, I take copious notes from the time they start to the time they finish. Jonathan talked about mining. Well, if you just close your mouth sometimes, people will tell you everything that you want to know. They will tell you they have children. They will tell you they love Red Stripe beer. They will tell you they love Jamaica. They will tell you everything you need to know about them. And most especially, they will tell you what's troubling them. And if you have something that will solve that problem, then it is your due diligence. It is your due diligence to offer that to them. So number 1 is listen. And in listening, you will know your target. You should eat, sleep, and breathe your target. What is their problem and how do they talk about it? See, we're up here and we know all the clinical terms for their problem. But at the end of the day, you got to know how they refer to their problem. They're going to call it something totally different. And if you can relate to them and say, here's what I hear you saying your problem is, and I got this right here that will fix your problem. That's number 1 is listen. Number 2, ask them. So many of you do not ask, can I solve your problem? Whatever that sounds like. Will you sign up today? Will you buy from me today? Whatever that sounds like. Can we work together? When do you want to get started? The biggest problem, and my target is women, and especially women, the biggest problem we have is we don't just ask. When will you ask for the business? Because when you don't ask for the business, what happens is you get them primed up and then they go buy from somebody else. They go work with somebody else. They go patronize somebody else. You're the one that got them ready, but you never asked them for the business. And I'm going to give you an analogy about that in a minute to prove that out. So always ask early and ask often. Your answer yesterday may be different. It may be a different answer today. So not only listen and take notes, but ask them, can I solve your problem? And if you asked yesterday, ask 6 hours from now. Their situation may have changed. They may be ready because they can't go until they're ready. That's number 2. Number 3 is you have to understand that your compensation is in direct correlation with the number of problems you solve, right? Look at Bill Gates. Microsoft is an operating system. He solved millions of people's problems with the computer user interface that made him a billionaire, right? Oprah is solving millions of people's problems on her TV platform that makes her billionaires. That's the law of compensation. You want to make more money? It's more than about just writing down your goals and how much you need to make. You want to make more money? You better help more people. And you better be for real about helping those people. It's a love thing. So it's not about sales and it's not about, I'm going to be this and I'm going to be that. You better love what you do. You better love your product and you better know unequivocally that your product will help some people. You want to change the world? I asked you that earlier. You want to change the world? Go solve some people's problems. Solve their problems early in the morning. Solve their problems late at night. Solve their problems in a way that's going to help them live a better life. That is what's going to help you live a better life. Those are my 3 strategies. What?
You know what? What am I supposed to say after that?
What?
What am I supposed to say? Like,
what? I kept my time in too. You know, I want to be honorable and respectful.
Tell you, man, I don't know what to say. Let me just say, I completely agree. Let me just say, the compensation is directly correlated to how many problems you solve.
Mm-hmm.
Please, this is exactly why. Like, I remember, and just like you said, you want to become a billionaire, go solve 1 billion problems. It's that simple, right? It's that simple. That being said, you're coming right back. She's coming right back, guys. Don't worry. She's coming right back. All right, Dawniel, we'll see you in a second. All right, guys. We're 1 hour in, and we've just done the introductions. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go for just a half an hour, because this panel probably needs 3-4 hours, but we're going to go for a half an hour of just raw engagement. Here's what I want you to do. Several things. One is, if you have a question, please get your question in the queue right now, because I know there are a lot of questions here, So get your questions in the queue. That's one. Number 2, that's it. Let's just bring the panel back on. All right. So now, coming to the stage, we've got, in the order that we saw him, my man JS. There he goes. My sis Carmelia. We've got Richard. And we've got this person here just dropping all kinds of stuff on us, right? I just want to give a second to say thank you. Like, I've just from introduction alone, this was a masterclass. So thank you. Thank you very much for that. And I want to kick off the questions with this. And by the way, with these questions, if you all wanted to, hit it, if just 1 or 2 people want to hit it, however you feel moved. But here's where I want to start. I want to go into almost the gutter, right? You guys were all up here lofty. I want to go with something kind of raw and crude, but it's something that came up in one of our discussions. So we had a panelist maybe a few sessions back, and she talked about how she likes to show up and not wear makeup, and just be raw, right? And she says that that's her most compelling. That's the most compelling. Then I've seen other folks, right? Who I've seen some other folks who, a lot of pastors at churches, for example, who are, I'll call it selling, right? But they're in their finest wear, their finest attire, right? It's about, the show. And so I'm just curious about your suggestions around how we should show up visually when we're on a video, when we're on stage, right? Should we look like our quote unquote customer? Should we be dressed a step higher? I've heard that. I've heard, no, you should be dressed a step down to humble yourself. How should we look? And then also I want to throw the ladies in particular, right? How should we be showing up? So please speak on this, guys.
May I? Just real quick. So with respect to the woman who said she shows up because she feels more comfortable, I think what I'm hearing, again, what we've offered is, what does your customer want to see? What is the expectation of your target client? If your target client wants to see somebody with no makeup and somebody in their raw self, I don't know who that customer is, but if that's the customer that wants to see you that way, then show up that way. But if she's doing it for her own comfort level, I would say you need to be able to adjust and be flexible to all kinds of customers. It's not about you. It's literally about the person that you're trying to serve. And just because I'm all made up and this is my comfort level, I sell high luxury, high ticket products, and people want to typically buy from. We are in a situation where people are highly visual, men in particular, and I serve a lot of executive men. So therefore, I want to embody that brand. Guess what? I don't want to wear makeup. It's easier for me to wake up, not do my hair, not do anything, roll out of bed. That is when I'm most comfortable. But I'll just turn off my computer screen right now and close business. So that's my short answer of that. And don't make it about what you're comfortable with. Do what you need to do to adjust to what your customer is expecting.
Can I echo a point there? Carmelia, you're so right. And I think one of the things to really pull out of that is, if you're if you have to put on things in order to be comfortable, okay, with your product and with yourself and with your angle and your pitch and all of that, then possibly there's something missing. And I think so many of you have all said this already, that you've got to be like convinced and committed. You've got to be an evangelist for your product, so much so that when it's raw, and if you're fighting and you're in the trenches and you're working your hardest, you shouldn't need props to feel confident. And so that's one element here. But I do think you're right. I personally agree. And I think you need to show up bearing in mind what the expectations are. In a corporate world, I'm hard on like the tailoring, on the like bespoke suits and on the watch, if that's required. Right here, look today. I know we're all in our bedrooms, right? And like, hey, you know, some of us are dressed down a bit, but you know, I did my research, I did my mining, as Jonathan rightly said. So like, I'm like echoing what Paul's wearing, because I don't want to go. Imagine if I'm wearing a suit, that doesn't work, because relatability matters in this kind of context as well. Dawniel, I know I cut you off. I do apologize.
Oh no, not at all, baby. We here together. Listen. And now this is where it gets really real, because you know I got those two personalities, right? Y'all met the first one. This is the second one. So first, I got to throw the rock out there. I got to point out the elephant in the room, that there's two different codes for men and women. I'm gonna call that out first, okay? And so where a man can sometimes show up casually dressed, I can never. Now, the person that says I did that because that's what my target wants. At one point, I understand her and what she's saying. At one point, I had convinced myself that just because I have a down-to-earth demeanor, my target wanted to see me dressed down. They're not the two. They're not one and the same. People want to purchase from somebody who looks like they've done what they're trying to do. So at the end of the day, there's a difference between relatability and that first glance. You got 7 seconds. If I have a 7-figure brand, and I do, I can't show up in jeans and a t-shirt and in 7 seconds convince you that I have a 7-figure brand. I thought that what was important was what I said, but that's not what people do. People say don't judge a book by a cover, but they are, and they do.
So let me ask this, since we are all keeping it 1,000, right? We're all keeping it 1,000. Yeah. Let me throw this one out, right? And this is for the whole panel, but Dawniel, I want you to start with this. Then talk about what you believe as Black professionals. Is there, just as you're saying, women, y'all can't do it. Is there something that as Black professionals we can or can't be doing when we're out here selling?
As Black professionals, I'm gonna give you 2 things. We gotta always operate in integrity. I talk to people all the time that say, I want to launch something and call it $1 million. And I ask them, the way you made $1 million? I have a book called $1 Million You. I did not launch that book till I made my first $1 million in a year. I can stand behind financially what I say that I am. Stop saying you can do stuff you can't do. If you ain't spoken 1,000 stages, don't write a book called 1,000 mics. If you have not done the work, don't do it, because it discredits all of us. Secondly, you know the old adage is very true. I don't want to play the race card, but I know me as a woman and as a minority, I got to show up at 1,000% every day. I hold myself accountable to it. So regardless as to how the world is going to judge me, you won't misjudge me because I showed up in jeans and a t-shirt. I'm going to show up like I show up every day, and then you take what you want to take from that. So whether there is a racial impact or a gender impact in the back, working in the background, it won't be because I showed up raggedy.
Yeah, so I'm going to chime in now. I've been teaching this for 20 years, and Dawniel, she's just amazing. And I agree with you 100%. I want to advance that point just a little bit. Let's be honest, as Paul said, we're going to keep it 1,000, especially to the ladies. And this is something that a lot of people have taken issue with. However, I know that I'm right about this. It's not even about how the men will judge you, ladies. It's about how the women judge other women. If that's right, say yes. This is what women have told me over 20 years. It's not even that the guys have a problem. Usually the guys are like, whatever, but the women will pick apart other women. So, but here's what I want to discuss though. I want to go in and really talk about the why behind this. Yes. Are there disparities? Yes. Are there double standards? Yes. Is there, do you have to do more sometimes? Yes. Okay. Let's not worry about that. Let's not talk about the why. Let's just talk about how we can play the game better. Okay. Let's just figure out how to make this happen. So we know that there are disparities. However, what can you do in order to win? Here's the question that I always want you to ask. I want you to ask, what do you want them to believe about you? If you want them to believe, as Dawniel said, that you have a 7-figure brand, well, what are the components of that 7-figure brand? There's a guy named Frank Kern who makes 8 figures, and he has t-shirt and jeans, and it was a part of his character. This is a concept that I teach for people because honestly, not everybody wears bespoke suits all the time. Not everybody is always going to be very formal. So for you, that would be very inauthentic. What are you connected to? If you're from California or you are from Florida and you wear flip-flops, now just know that you're going to have to lean hard on that character. But I've been able to help people to build their brand based on what is authentic with them. Why? Because when you are being who you are, you don't have to remember how to act that day. Dawniel's Dawniel all day long. That's what she's saying. This is me. And so she don't have to try. She literally wakes up like this, right? Richard is Richard all day long. So I have 30 suits in my closet, but I had to remember though, number one, what my audience was, who, you know, I want to dress like Paul. Number two, I'm also going to remember the times you show up in a 3-piece suit right now, you don't fit, as Richard said. So you have to look at who you are and then what makes sense for your message and what you want them to believe that day.
Can I just add a little footnote on that? I think it's really important to be aware that sometimes you earn the right to wear certain things. If I'm going in cold, then I kind of need to be able to be relatable. And as you rightly say, I need to be the guy they're expecting. And that's not someone who's just like them. It is the best version of them, because we're talking persuasion as well. If I want to be able to go to corporate in London, in the city, and wear what I'm wearing today, it works best if I've already pre-warned them. And now we're talking content, branding, all that stuff. When they ask for Richard Moore, not when I knock on the front door saying, hey, can I come sell? When they ask for Richard Moore, I get to wear my thing because I've earned the right. And they almost, in terms of persuasion terms, it's so disruptive in a positive way. There's a lot of science in this, but basically people are like, if this guy's the real deal, he gets to wear that. And that's why you have a Richard Branson or you know, anyone who's like super big. They get to wear what they want because they've earned the right. But when you're cold and you're starting fresh, you have to have extra considerations. I love, by the way, that everyone's being so real, because there's a massive difference between what should happen in real life and what actually happens. So like you lot have said so many important things.
And this is so true for dating, because everybody asks me that as well. When you go on a dating site and when people are thinking of swiping left and right, it is incredible to me what people lead with. And so you are always selling. You are always one swipe away from a sale, an interest, a prospect. So, you know, we all know Bill Gates, as you know, our panelists had said, ooh, I'm bad with the name here, but this is what you need to do is you need to show up the way that embodies, you've got that 3 to 7 seconds to make that first impression. What impression does your overall look make to that person who doesn't know you?
Yeah. Wow. I've never seen that topic like talked about publicly before. So thank you. I thought that was brilliant. That was brilliant. I've seen a lot of other questions, but I want to get one more of my questions in. All right. This was alluded to by all of you, is that we're in a unique time right now. We're in a time where we have to be very sensitive. I've noticed a lot of people in terms of their, pricing products. I've seen people just say, pay what you can. Right. I've seen people say, you know what, this is not the time for me to actually be as flashy as I once was. How do you think our message should be modified, if at all, during this time of COVID?
So there's different levels of, first of all, you have the first thing you need to do as a salesperson is you have to meet them where they are. That's the first stage in connection. Carmelia would tell you very quickly, if somebody is looking to to date, but they just got out of a bad relationship, right? You have to meet them where they are. Same thing, whether we're talking about dating or whether we're talking about buying a product or service, meet them where they are. So there's where they are, and then there's where they want to be. So let's find out where people are right now and where they and what they believe about their lives. So I have a construct that I teach called the arc of influence, and it goes all the way from survival all the way up to significance. And a lot of people now believe they're in survival mode. Whether that's true or not, we'll talk about that later. But what you can always do when people are in survival mode is you have to provide them with what I call a quick win. Show them that they can do it. Show them that it's possible. Just do this today. Just like how we got great messages, something we can learn from Richard and Dawniel really quickly, things that we can just do right now, even if it's just a mindset shift to inspire hope. That's what you want to start with. So you may want to go back first to build up their hope, build up their trust. Then you can take them on to the next thing in your funnel and in your model.
And then you have to realize too, that if you've been doing this a while, different people are in different stages at all times. So the bulk of the world some people in the world may be struggling. Some people are not. Some people will still be willing and able to pay you $60,000 tomorrow to solve their problem. So as a business owner, you have to be able to scale your products, your services, and your offerings. Because even though you're struggling right now, and I'm going to put some things out there to help you. Me and my team just launched a $1 million grant initiative to help people be able to, quote unquote, afford to build their businesses online. So we've done that. That's our giving back. It didn't make me come up with that $60,000 program where we build all of your stuff for you. So at the end of the day, if you still want what I have, just because everybody can't afford your steak, that don't mean stop selling steak. That means have some burgers, have some hot dogs. For the people that can afford the burgers and hot dogs, at the end of the day, I'm going to still help you get where you need. But there's different vehicles that you can pull off the lot. We don't all drive the same car. We never will. Somebody's going to be in a Lambo. Somebody's going to be in a McLaren. Somebody's going to be in a Hyundai. And it's your job as a professional to say, look, I got these $19 planners and books and things. You can use it if you need the help. It ain't going to stop me from selling that Bugatti. It's not.
Yeah, go on then.
If you think about my industry, and there are only it's very niche, the matchmaking space. But when we were entering pre-COVID, and our job and what we get paid to do is to facilitate real introductions with people, you would think we would go completely bust. But now we've had to completely pivot and do virtual introductions, be more creative, come up with interesting programs, and motivate people to keep moving forward. As Jonathan had said, something bite-sized, something actionable. And as Dawniel said, I'm giving free 15-minute calls. We're doing Zoom interviews. We're making larger group connections, teaching people how to get in front of a camera to date, because this is now the new normal. Mm-hmm. And by the way, we are still offering high value products and services, and matchmaking typically starts at 10K and above, and we're still helping people make these kinds of choices in this climate.
Yeah, I think what's really valuable here is saying, like, where can I help people at the moment, and being a little bit more in tune with the environment. I reckon a third of all my work now is helping people with their LinkedIn and working in sales through that, because that's where everyone's living at the moment. But there's something that really important that Dawniel talked about, and I think the quote from you earlier was, it's a love thing, and it's so important to bear in mind that listening, yes, but now listening even more, because. And I want to make this for a second about the salespeople now, not just the audience. Let's give everyone a little bit of hope here. So many people are saying, and I remember 2008 so well, no one's spending right now. They're all hibernating, frozen the budgets. Yeah, more people are. But the crucial part to remember is you cannot, in this climate, qualify or pre-qualify a business based on what you see on their metrics, their details, and that. You cannot. It's down to the appetite of that human at the top who's making the decision. Because for every 19 people, right, who are like, well, no, not right now. We're living in fear. We're living in scarcity. Let's tighten those belts and see how we're doing in 3 months. There's someone out there, and I know so many, and I'm sure we all do. There's someone out there who's saying, now's our time. Now's when we land grab. Now's where we get ahead. And yes, you have to work harder. It's going to be the biggest recession since the 30s. Of course, you have to work harder. But there are some people out there who have the appetite and, in fact, are leaning into this difficult time. So you've got to have hope as a salespeople that, yeah, you work harder, but there are people out there who really want it right now and they're ready for you. And you're rightly saying, all of you are right in that, like for the high ticket products as well. Don't cheapen just because it feels like people have money.
Yeah, this is an unprecedented time. You're going to see once in a lifetime opportunities for those people who are prepared, those who are in the game. The key takeaway from this, though, is don't assume things about others just because of what you see in the narrative going around. Grant Cardone said this, most brilliant thing I've ever heard on this. He said, don't judge the amount of money in someone else's wallet based on the amount of money that's in yours.
Exactly.
Because it's projecting. All it is the salesperson projecting what they would feel about spending that amount of money right now. Instead, it's like, shut the hell up and listen to that person, because they actually might be cool with spending right now. You've got to listen that much more.
Yeah.
Totally.
And one more thing, you got to remember, we're not just offering you stuff. We're solving the stuff that keeps you up at night. We're helping you that make you unhappy. Carmelia is saying, you don't have to be by yourself. Jonathan is saying, you don't have to be uncomfortable, doing your thing. So we're helping you solve a problem. People find money for the things that are important to them.
This is
Point
true.
blank, period.
This is true. This is the reason why Viagra continues to sell.
I bet you their stock went up during the pandemic.
All right, so now I have a closing question.
Okay.
This is a closing question, but because you all are so thorough in your answers, I'm just giving it now early in the closing question. And that is that, so the last kind of few comments, especially Richard, what you just mentioned, very hopeful, right? This is very hopeful. I would love for you to almost distill in a little capsule. It could be 1, 2, 3 hits of anyone who's watching right now. And they feel as if, I listened to this whole thing. I wrote down notes, right? But I have 3 pages of notes. What are the 1, 2, 3 things that I can do today to most significantly improve my persuasion, to most significantly improve my ability to sell? And a lot of our audience are entrepreneurs who have products that they need to sell. They need to sell. So what are 1, 2, 3 things that they can do today?
Ooh.
Tough one. Hit you with a tough one at the end.
Should I go first? We're all writing notes.
I thought he called your name.
A couple of things spring to mind. And this is, do you know what's interesting is when you step up a gear in a time like this, you really realize what you're capable of. So the real question as a side thing afterwards is, when all this is over, why don't you stay operating at that level as well? One thing I would say is, and you said it in my very kind introduction at the start, Paul, is community is king. Those of you who leverage content, for instance, one thing I do on places like LinkedIn, it's a start that acts as gravity. If you want to persuade, talk about how you help people, not in a sales way, but by giving tips and value and advice. Look, this is a free hour and a bit that we've been giving. Why aren't you doing that on your own channel? So you shouldn't be contributing only to conversations. You should be hosting the party, stimulate the new conversation so people come into orbit around you and start listening and showing up to you again and again on your content. Every day, start a new conversation. What's crucial as well is you recognize that the content and the conversations aren't the game. The game is when you get into the people. If you really want to find out whether or not you've got buyers there. And if you really want to uncover the problems and change people's lives, what you really need to be doing is saying every day, what am I going to do to make sure that I'm being useful? And here's how you should be doing, in my opinion, rather than your metric being, do I feel tired and have I been busy? That's a feeling. Instead, it's, have I done 20 new conversations today? Have I engaged with 20 new people? Not to pitch, but to just engage, because you never know where that might go. And when I first started selling online many years back, every single day it was 20 new conversations. 20 is nothing. We can all do that. But in a month, now I've done 600, okay? And that's how scale happens. And we can really get into people and understand when we're consistent. So I really think it's crucial. Try a bit harder, sure, but like give yourself a target every single day. If I want to be persuasive, I need to practice. So I need to be in front of as many people as possible. 3 shots at goal a day isn't going to be enough. Up your game a bit and engage with the people. And what I finish with is saying, if the content you use to kind of bring people into orbit around you is 10% of your work, 90% should be with the people. Come down from your throne and go and speak with the people themselves and start new conversations. And I'm talking not bots. No, I'm talking one-on-ones, okay? Manual stuff, because that's where people get the human come through. And that's absolutely where people should be deploying their time right now.
Yeah, I want to just endorse that. Something that I did, and thank God, because you're advising us to do it. So I good job, Paul. Right? Is that I've started now. You know, I couldn't, or I shouldn't say I couldn't. I didn't answer all of my inbox messages in the past, right? But now I allocate over an hour a day to not just answer the question, but I leave voice messages. I try to be as thorough as possible. So it's like, this is exactly what you're saying, is just engage, whether it be in the inbox, whether it be in comments, just engage in those conversations.
And these people have shown up for you. And if they've decided, it's a very delicate thing, if they're cold and they've just seen you and they've decided to write something or send a message, like, you owe them. Validate that by giving them something back. And I'm the same, man. I'm all over the voice memos, because if we're talking persuasion, it leaves text in the dust, because I've got emphasis, I've got emotion, I've got dynamics. I can be like this. And every time I do it, I get back a message saying, wow, I've never heard a voice memo before. And thank you so much. I feel like I know someone better. And now we're really moving. That's really where persuasion lies.
All right, there you go. So here's what I want to do, just because I committed to only a half an hour more. And Richard, you came out the gate swinging on this last question.
Sure.
So now let me just, Rich, I'm going to close you out.
That's cool.
I'm going to close Richard out, guys. And I know a lot of people, especially LinkedIn, is going to be upset with me, but we got to keep this to time. So my question to you is, Richard, I want everybody, round of applause. If you loved what Richard delivered here today, I want to see it right now. Richard, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
This has blessed me, right? What can we do to bless you? What can we do to support you?
Let's talk, let's just support each other. So if people show up, and you know what, let's do hashtag tribe PCB. I will be searching, I will follow it. If someone wants to write a comment or show up, I'm on LinkedIn mostly, and I'm on content all the time. Let's make sure we're showing up there, and I'll help as much as possible. I think we organized an offer as well. Is now the time, or did you mean later?
Yeah.
So I'm aware that people really want to get to grips with how to sell and how to communicate and get content and effective connection building and effective community building to generate genuine, meaningful engagements and appointments. Because right now, a lot of us are propping up our businesses or the ones we work for with our sales. So I have a course I've built called The Basics of LinkedIn. If you go to Udemy, which is the site that runs all of these courses, on Udemy, if you do a search for LinkedIn Basics, there are over 10,000 results. Mine has the highest rating, and I want to give it away to all of you for free. I think there's something like 3 days that you have to use the coupon. So if you go to udemy.com, UDEMY, /course/basics of LinkedIn, and the code, of course, is better with Paul, you get it completely free. And that's like lifetime access. And it's the least I can do, because in a time like this, some people need that leg up. And if you're okay, I just feel like, it's good to try and help others as much as I can. So I really hope that's of value to you guys. And any questions, I'm here, no problem at all. But yeah, hopefully that's something that can serve.
Richard, can I say this? I just want to emphasize something. Notice he just slid this in real cool and calm because he's Richard. He's cool, real calm. He's best rated LinkedIn course on Udemy. How many LinkedIn courses do you think there are on Udemy?
I did the search last night to check, and I didn't want to fake it. I didn't do all courses or anything, or even all courses called LinkedIn Richard Moore. So it's any basics courses. There are over 10,000 results, and highest rated is my one. So, but that's because people have been so kind about it. So hopefully it helps you guys.
So there you go. Top rated, 10,000 plus. He's giving it to you for free. In the next 72 hours. Do that. And also, I know Richard is a man of his word. He's been tagging me up a storm on LinkedIn. I see it. He does not mess around. So he'll see that hashtag. Definitely engage. Definitely follow Richard. Richard, thank you so much. Like this.
You're so welcome.
That's me.
You're so welcome.
Thank you very much. And by the way, Marielle would love it if we see each other at her wedding. I think she would love it.
I know. I think we should be best men. Let's do that.
All right, let's see what she says. Let's see what she says.
Better than bridesmaids, I think.
Yeah. There you go. All right, guys. That is Richard Moore. Richard, thank you. Make sure you check that out, right? Also, just so everyone knows, I have a make sure that you sign up to, I'm going to talk about this in a second, but make sure that you sign up to the newsletter as well, because I'm going to include all of the links in the newsletter. So and I'll talk about that at the end. But Richard, once again, let me go back to the course, get on that because LinkedIn is where it's at. All right. So now let's see, who are we going to bring? I don't know. All right. Well, next to Richard, I have none other than my sis.
Hi.
Carmelia. So you've had some time to think about this question. This is a really good question. What should we be doing right now, today?
I really believe strongly in collaboration, and we didn't have even an opportunity to touch the surface of this. I think that could be a whole show could be dedicated to successful collaboration. If you're in a business, you must have other industry leaders, other businesses that are in your predicament that are all trying to solve or create a program or serve your community. So one tip that you can do is to reach out to other people in your industry, business owner to business owner, and come up together with a plan, an event, something free, or even a small offering. I did this with matchmakers in Toronto. I got 4 Toronto matchmakers together. We're offering free master classes, how to meet people, and we're all collaborating and inviting people to join our network and offering a matchmaking collaboration, getting 4 matchmakers instead of 1. I did this with another matchmaker, Michelle G. I'm doing collaboration offers all over the place. They're being met with success. It's easier on the price point. They also get not just 1 expert, they get 2 experts, 4 experts. So, and we share the work. So this has been one of the most interesting times for me in creating these types of offers. And be a student, knowing that video is something that everybody's going to need. I suggest, and Paul is a big video guy. I only learned about StreamYard because of Paul. So I know we're short on time, but that's my thing. Look to other people who you can collaborate with and create a custom offer that you can both reap the rewards of those future customers.
I love it, Carm. We're in an era where most businesses are not going to survive, right? Because they're independent. But when you take 2, 3 and you come together, there's power in strength. So Carmen, I'm going to tell you what, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. How can we support you? What can we do?
I'm easy to find, CarmeliaRay.com. I am offering 15-minute free sales calls for small businesses, any business, actually. I don't know how long it will take to facilitate, but I promise you I will honor any request to meet me for a sales call, Zoom date. I'll put that in a calendar, and I welcome you to take advantage of that.
There you go. There she is.
Bye.
There she is. Carl, thank you.
Thanks, Paul. I'll see you again.
All right. We'll see. Everybody say goodbye to Carm, right? Everyone say goodbye. By the way, I saw someone, I won't say what platform, was attempting to actually see if Carmelia was available. But I said, you know what? We're not going to do any of that today. Right? I'm not going to do any of that today. All right. Next up is, where are we going? Where we go? All right, you know what? I'm gonna go to my man Jonathan. I'm gonna go to Jonathan. By the way, I think Jonathan, I have more notes from Jonathan today. Man, and you know what too? I love acronyms. I love bullets. You just bam, bam, bam. There's 3. There's 2. Here's the like. It's just so perfectly packaged that makes it digestible. So
you're going to love this. First off, Paul, thank you very much. This has been more than I ever could have imagined. Even though I have high expectations of anything you put your hands on, this has exceeded that. Shout out to all of our guests. I mean, Richard was amazing. Carmelia was amazing. Dawniel, I can't wait to see what she has to say. So I actually have my notes here ready to take some. Thank you for this. 3 things that I suggest that you do, that I've been doing, that I've been leading my students to doing as well. 3 things. Number 1, position yourself. See, you can't win if you're not in position to win. If you know there's a big wave and you're out in the ocean, there's a big wave and it's moving fast, you got to point your surfboard toward the shore. Now, that big wave can either be a wave that you ride or a wave that takes you out. I'm telling you, y'all, we are in unprecedented times because of unprecedented opportunity. So position yourself. You got to get in the game. Some people might think, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I don't have anything to say. Yes, you do. You are enough. I'm talking to you, Judah. I'm talking to you, Linda, Nakia, Wayne, Andrew, Kim, Sebastian, Chris, all of you in the chat room. You are enough. Now is the time for you to get in and for you to cash in on people who are looking for opportunities. Listen, all of my students who are in the game are prospering because people are at home. They're looking for inspiration. They're looking for hope. They're looking for advice. You don't have to be the world's greatest PhD. You just have to be someone who knows how to get people unstuck. That's it. What can you teach that I want to know? So position yourself. You got to get in the game. Number 2, attach yourself. Find someone who has what you want and learn from them. There's 5 people on this call, including Paul. That's 5 people who you should be following, and you should be commenting. You should be investing. I didn't say buying. I said investing in learning how they think, because what you're doing is you're attaching yourself to the energy that they put out. You want to attach yourself to the brands that are already in motion and grab their ideas so that even if you don't want to do what they do, you can do it how they do it. They're giving game away all the time. They're showing you how to post, when to post. And if you're just a good student based on the people who you attach yourself to, then the game is already laid out. They're going to show you how to do it. So find a mentor who you can help to ride this thing out with, be their star student so that they're giving you shout outs, and then your following continues to grow. And then finally, bet on yourself. You got to believe in you. Listen, there is no better time for you to believe in yourself and for you to bet on yourself than right now. You know, I was doing a class yesterday and they were asking, so what's the most important relationship? And many people said a relationship with God is most important. I said, you know, I believe that is important, but I believe that the relationship that you have with yourself is even more important than the relationship that you have with God. Sounds sacrilegious, but watch this. If you don't believe in you, even God, his blessings will be wasted upon you. If he says, I want you to be big, but you only see yourself little, you won't even try it. You won't take advantage of the opportunities and the relationships and the people he puts in front of you. So you got to bet on yourself and believe that now is the time for you to do things you've never done so that you can have all the things that you previously couldn't have. Now is the time for you to bet on yourself in ways that you never have. And that is the only bet that always pays dividends.
I can't say anything other than Jay, you just like, really, that's where there's always a collection plate moment. That was our collection plate moment right there. That was beautiful, beautiful, man. Inspiring, right? You've inspired us this entire time. What can we do to show you our love and to support you?
Listen, I'm all about giving. So I have set up, and I just created this during the quarantine, bettingonmyself.net. I've created a daily planner that is based on the psychology of what we need to do in order to keep our heads in the game and stay in attack mode. That's what I've been saying to my tribe. Keep your head in the game and stay in attack mode. Bettingonmyself.net. It's very simple. There's just a daily planner that I'm doing, and it's only for the quarantine. Once it's over, then that's it. It's going to be turned into something, a whole other project that I've been working on. I'm just waiting for it to end. But right here, this is my service back to my people. You all are some of the most brilliant people that I've seen in a chat room. I see a lot of people of color, a lot of women here. This is beautiful, y'all. And this is my way of saying, y'all, look, for those of us who are in the same race, just in a different lane, I'm making sure that we can all get up and level up at the same space. So go to bettingonmyself.net right now. All you have to do is just tell me where you want me to send it. It's 100% free. This is my gift to you, showing you how to plan your day and get that focus that you need so that you can achieve the dream and the blessings that God has for you.
Man, my man Tony Alexander said, I've never seen Paul so speechless in one before. I'm just learning. I have my notes right here. Jay, I love you, man. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you for blessing us. Everybody I know will support, and I'm gonna stay tuned to that email you're gonna send, and I'm gonna call to make sure that the socks and all the stuff is there at the house. So,
Paul, you're my favorite, man. Thank you. God bless you and your family.
God bless. All right, everybody, say bye to Jonathan. Man, I'm gonna tell you, I'm just not gonna say anything. I'm gonna stop talking, and I'm just gonna lastly bring on this young lady right here. And you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna zip. And we're all going to sit back. Everybody was like, all right, get ready. People are like, I already have 3 pages of notes, but I know Dawniel is going to drop something. So I'm just going to shut up and give you the floor. What can we do today?
So the first question, I want to go back to the original question. And the original question was, do you want to change the world? And that is what has propelled me all of these years, is that if you don't see something right in the world, if you see something that's wrong, you can't just talk about it, can't just tell your friends about it. You've got to stand up and do something to change it. And so what I see wrong in the world is that there are not enough people with the strategy they need to build an online business. Now, for the last 9 years, I've been saying, build an ark, a flood is coming. I didn't know it would be a flood of this magnitude, but I'm sure Noah didn't either. I've been begging people to get online for 9 years, and people drag their feet. And now we've been quantum leaped and forced into this online Zoom webinar, no contact environment. And so some of you are having to pivot. Some of you have not yet done your due diligence to get online, but I want to put my money where my mouth is. Richard said something critical. He said, you have to come down off your throne. But the truth of the matter is, real leaders, they don't really have a throne. In this whole pandemic, I've done everything from ship toilet paper to order meat, groceries for my clients. Whatever they needed in this season was what we worked to give them, whether it was information on how to submit their small business loan paperwork, whatever they needed. We had to do that. And me and my team, for a long time, we've been 100% response on every message we get, because we know people don't have to message us. I'm blessed to be in a position. So what I want to do is, let me just give you my takes. If you want to change the world, first and foremost, you got to study to show yourself approved. That's what the Bible says. I read on average 100+ books a year. Matter of fact, they can go to my bookshelf, pull off a book, and without me seeing the title, from the size and the color, I can tell you what book it is. That's how much I read, because I know that at the end of the day, knowledge is power. That's what Proverbs says. You know, if you study, if you have wisdom, all of these things will be added unto you. So when you want things added unto you, you start with wisdom. And the difference between wisdom and knowledge is, a lot of us have knowledge, but we don't apply it. A lot of us have knowledge, but we don't apply it. It's only wisdom once it becomes applied. So study to show yourself approved. Number 2, get on the phone. All of these electronics, Fortnites and gaming systems and video cameras and live streams and videos, that does not replace human interaction. You want to increase the number of people who buy your stuff, increase the number of people you have a one-on-one conversation with. The telephone is always going to be the pinnacle of being able to connect with people. And you can't do face-to-face right now, but don't hesitate to get on the phone with people. Last but not least, regardless as to what the last person told you, if the last person told you no, the thing I always say is if someone had $1 million that belonged to you and they were in a neighborhood with 5,000 houses, how many of those doors would you be willing to knock on to find the one door that had your $1 million? Now keep in mind, some people are not going to be at home. So you may have to knock on those doors more than once. Some people may be at the grocery store. You may have to go back. Some people may not just be prepared to open the door. But if you know your blessings are there, and the Bible says they are, what are you willing to do to receive your blessings? And the number of actions you take on a daily, weekly, monthly basis are going to be the faster you find your blessings. But they're there.
Once again, I'm not saying anything other than thank you. Thank you. Thank you. What can we do to support you? Or better yet, what could we do so that you could better support us? Right? What is that?
So, the truth of the matter is, when this whole pandemic came, I was blessed in so many ways. I don't want to get emotional, but I was blessed that God got me ready. And, part of what I do is just helping people get prepared, because life is always going to happen. So being someone who has been very fortunate on social media, I wanted to put my money where my mouth was. So we created a $1 million grant for individuals to be able to receive certifications that will help edify them in the online world, for first responders and essential workers to help them improve their career trajectory, from I want to build an online business perspective. And we even have a grant for individuals who need help pivoting in this pandemic, because a lot of businesses didn't see it coming. It doesn't mean you go out of business. It just means that you have to go back to the drawing board to see how people need you now. So people who are interested can go to bit.ly/freewomen2020. And this is in partnership with my nonprofit, the Free Women Project. Men are eligible. First responders are eligible. Anyone is eligible. We called it Free Women because that's my primary target audience. But me and my community, we had to have a way to give back. And this is our way of giving back.
Thank you.
$1 million is a lot of money, y'all. I could have took that. I could have kept that money in my pocket, y'all. Just FYI.
Yeah, it's a lot. But you know what, Dawniel, I want to say this too, is that, I think what I most appreciate about you is that you really bring a grounding to every conversation. Every time I've been around you, the conversation has been real, and it's interesting on this panel, like the idea wasn't even to go down that road of, okay, what do we wear and how should Black people show up? But I think once again, it was your presence that gave us, and maybe it's like this safety, like, okay, Dawniel's here, so we can talk about it, right? But I don't know, but I just thank you. Like, I think a lot of people have an X factor, and they just, they're just born with that extra blessing. And I truly believe you are one of those people, so thank you. Thank you very much. And we will continue. We're going to continue to support you. So everybody say goodbye. Say goodbye to Dawniel. There she is. Last name Winningham. How do you get a last name like that? Winningham, man. That's the last name for you. Guys, I've got one question. And I like to, because I read all the comments. Okay. I read all the comments. What did you think of today's panel? What did you think of today's panel and discussion? please let me know, because this is how I curate, right? This is my temperature read. So that's the first question that I have. What did you think about today's panel, right? The next thing is I want to make sure that on Monday, so first, make sure you join the newsletter, okay? I am recapping all of the sessions in this newsletter. Every week, I'm going to hit you with the full recap. I'm going to hit you with the links. I'm going to hit you with everything. A matter of fact, I just finished the recap on the investing panel that we did, and I'm going to drop little bonuses in. I've been working on a project for 2 weeks for you. For 2 weeks. I'm dropping it on Monday. It's coming to your inbox on Monday. So please make sure that you join. You'll get full recaps, presentations, etc. Make sure that you join. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is I ask you to share this out, right? Because when we share, obviously more people see these, which, by the way, when we started, we were getting like 1,000 to 2,000 views across, about 4 weeks of content. Now we're getting on average 40,000 people are watching these. It's incredible. But the beauty is that more people are joining in. So our network is building. So there's more value in the fact that our network is building. But then on top of it, more people are supporting our panelists. I have panelists from 4 weeks ago thanking me for the fact that they were on and that they're getting clients. And some of those clients are helping to sustain them through, this new economy that we're in. I mean, this has been to show up. I show up every day. I'm so excited. I mean, I have crazy things happening in my life, just like yours, crazy things happening. But every time I turn this camera on, I am excited to come serve you. I'm excited to curate these. Like, I'm already thinking about what we're going to do on Monday for Mentor Monday. I'm already thinking about next week, who's going to be on. I love doing this. And this is to all of the panelists' point. And this is to Dawniel's point of when you, this is, and I'm going to end on this, right? And I'm not going to get emotional. I'm going to try not to get emotional on this, but I'm going to end on this is when I go back to 2008, 2009, like right around that 2009 time, 2010 almost, it was tough. It was tough for me, my wife, financially, it was tough. I'm talking about, we were in a dire situation, right? I call it dire situation. And when I look at then versus now, right? The biggest difference, quite honestly, the biggest difference, or what has made the biggest difference, is I got active in solving other people's problems, right? You all who are watching this, you know me. I show up. I've been showing up here consistently for like 6-7 weeks right now, consistently. If you've sent me a message on LinkedIn, right, you know I'm hitting you back. Why? I've got passionate about solving other people's problems. And I tried to distance my thoughts around making money. And I focused on, how can I help? How can I add value, get you closer to your goals? How can I solve other people's problems? And from 10 years of solving folks' problems day in and day out, we're in the healthiest financial position that we've ever been in. We're over here in London. We live between London and the United States, and like we travel all over the world, and we still plan to travel. But I think what made the difference is showing up and solving problems, as our panelists said. So that being said, I love you all. Right? We got to show people, like, I love you all. If there's ever anything I could do, message me. You know what we do. We show up here every Monday and Friday to change lives. And I just want to thank the panelists. The panelists were incredible. Jonathan, you were incredible. Carmelia, you were incredible. Richard, you were incredible. Dawniel, you were incredible. Thank you all. All right. God bless. I'll see you all on Monday.